Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's interview with the amazing Rene. Rene, I'm super excited to have you on the show. But before we get into introducing you, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Welcome to Livewire TV. This is the place where we like to interview business experts, marketing experts, and mindset experts as well. And we really like to help people out here pay it forward. Livewire TV is a part of Livewire Media, where we create corporate photography, videography, and video marketing as well. So, Rene, your accolades just go on and on and on. It's incredible. So, Rene and I first connected a few weeks ago, actually, and we just hit it off straight away. So, he's come from a military background, and he is the best person to go to when it comes to understanding body language. He knows exactly what you're going to say, why you're going to say it. He understands what influences people in the business space. He's working with some top dogs in business right now. He's working directly with companies that work directly with, like Anthony Robbins. He's an international speaker. He's just an all-round and amazing guy, and I love how humble he is as well. So Rene, welcome to Livewire TV.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for that. It's an honor. It's an honor.
So let's start with your background. So first of all, how did you get into body language and teaching people about that area? Because it's a very niche area, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It definitely is. I got in it since I was a child. In fact, I was when I was a little kid. I was always observing people. I wanted to know why they did, and I was like sitting at the seaside watching people. Hey, why are they acting this way? Why do they do this? Later on in school, when I was in classroom, I was always watching people. I wanted to know why they did what they did. And the teacher would always say, hey, Rene, it's over here, not over there. I mean, I was always distracted about something. And then later in the army, same thing. I was always like, hey, body language, you have to scan and screen people. And then all of a sudden, in 1995, when I started my business, I had a supermarket with all kinds of products, from NLP to health to wealth to name it, I probably had it. And the only thing I didn't have was a niche and customers. So I didn't have a niche and I didn't have customers, and I couldn't understand why, until somebody said you have to have a niche. And I said, yeah, sure. And I went home and I said, what's a niche? So to make my point is I learned it the hard way. However, today more than ever, not today more than ever, but a few years after that, I got invited to a body language presentation. And I said, I'm not going, because body language, that's not my thing. You know, body language, come on, get serious. And I went anyway. And that was the best decision ever. I was like, wow, this is amazing, because that was my thing. And then later on, I started to develop it more and more and more. And finally today, more than ever, I've been in this for 25 years now, developing body language, teaching people, let them discover the body language, what the secrets, what's the knowledge, what are the benefits, what can you do with it. And that's what I do today. Yeah, international, as you mentioned. I mean, was in Australia in 2020. I got stuck there, by the way, due to the COVID. But before that, I was in Iran, I was in Thailand, I was in the United States. It was a bit everywhere. So yeah, it's amazing, an amazing journey. Yeah, definitely.
You really have been everywhere, really talking all about the power of body language.
It's very powerful, yeah.
Yeah. Guys, do me a favor, share this out with people on your newsfeed, because I know a lot of you watching right now, you're business owners, and body language is massively important when it comes to communicating in business, closing that deal, and getting new connections as well. Hey Karen, welcome to the stream. Super excited to have you here. And drop your comments and questions below. I'm sure there's going to be loads of really amazing questions all around body language. We're broadcasting this live across YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So guys, I'd love it to get involved in the conversation as well. So Rene, what was it specifically about body language that made you think, I really like that and I want to start teaching that to other people?
That's a good question. When I was a kid, my granddad would give me a clock, an old clock with these two bells on it. You know, these alarm clocks, the old ones. And he would say, take things out and put it back in and make sure it works. And I was so excited about that. I was like, sure enough, long story short, it didn't work in the end. But I'm always curious, why does the brain work the way it works? Right? Why do people the things they do? Why is communication not only words, And I learned that words is only 7%. I said, excuse me, only 7%? And they said, yeah, 38% is intonation and 55% is body language. I said, I want to know more about that. Now, to be honest with you, body language is a very small part in NLP. NLP is the major part, is the major course or training you can follow in terms of communication. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. However, a little part in that is body language. And in that little part, I pull it open and say, hey, body language, if you manage body language, if you know how to work with it, the benefits, how can you use this? You'll find out so many things that you say, wow, if I only knew that years ago. Maybe to give you a small example, I don't know what triggered me is that somebody said, hey, if you turn yourself a little bit to the right and you look with your left eye in the left eye, you connect the right brain with the right brain, which is the emotional brain. The outcome of
the brain is the emotional side.
So the right brain is the emotional brain.
Right.
The left brain is the rational brain.
Ah. So,
but it is connected diagonally with your eyes. So that the right brain is connected with your left eye, and your left brain is connected with your right eye. So your left brain, your rational brain, is your rational eye. Please.
That is really, really, because I know that the right side of our brain, it controls the opposite side of our body.
Excellent.
Is that right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Really
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So when I communicate with somebody about rational things, I will turn myself a little bit to the left, look with my right eye into their right eye, and connect my left brain with their left brain. It's like a Chinese person speaking to a Chinese person. They understand each other. If I would...
Well, I'm assuming that you do that consciously because obviously you're aware of all these amazing techniques.
Today more than ever, I'm doing this. I'm doing it unconscious. It's a second skin. It's a habit. It's normal. Sometimes people say, what does my body tell you? And then I whisper, you don't want to know. I mean, but with communication is that when you ask a question, let's say you ask an emotional question to somebody, you turn yourself a little bit to the right, you look with your left eye in their left eye, ask your emotional question. What do you do at that very moment is you connect the right brain with their right brain. That means emotional with emotional. So you are speaking to somebody that understands you.
Yeah.
The outcome of that conversation will be from a far more higher level, if that makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes total, absolute sense. Karen, Sherry, welcome to the stream, guys. I'm really grateful that you guys are here. Drop your comments and your questions below like you have been, which is incredible. And do me a favor, share this out with people because I know that you've both got amazing people on your newsfeed that could benefit from the top tips that Rene is about to share. Just like that one, which is an absolute game changer.
Yeah. And if there's questions, please ask your questions. If there's time left, I'll be honored to answer the questions. Yes, but it is a fact that the right part of the body is the rational part and the left part is the emotional part. That's why speakers, for example, when they have an emotional message, they will turn themselves like this and show the left part of their body and look with the left eye into the audience and said, hey guys, I have an amazing opportunity, or I have a message for you. And they look like this. I'm exaggerating right now, right? But that's the way they do it.
Yeah.
Presidents on stage fighting each other. What do you think you do? Right? It's all connected. It's all energy and on a certain frequency. Yeah.
So you mentioned some numbers earlier, which is actually pretty staggering when you think about it. So you mentioned like 7% of our communication is actually only in our voice. Now, I feel like, am I the only one that's only been taught this? But like in school, we're taught that talking with your voice is the only form of communication.
That's school, right? School in 39, in 45, school in 58, school in 2020, nothing changed. Yeah. Everything stays the same. Nothing is there's no evolution in the traditional school, right? But when people start to find out that, and that was, by the way, a study from Professor Albert Mehrabian in the 50s that said, communication in its whole is 7% words, 7% verbal. 93% is nonverbal, and nonverbal consists of the body language and the intonation. Because can you imagine, Rohini, if we have a conversation, yes, this is going to be very excited, I love it, and people will fall asleep, right? Intonation is so important, loud, quietly. I mean, that's, yeah. But these numbers are, I mean, one would say 90%, the other one would say 80%, but the biggest part is nonverbal.
Yeah. So I want to backtrack a bit to your life story, if you like, because I think your life story is actually really fascinating, because you came from a military background and then you went straight into working with top dogs in the speaking game, in the business corporate world as well. Tell us a bit about that transition.
It didn't go that way, like immediately, right? It's a roadmap. And I joined the army. Why did I join the army? Because I was bullied in school, and people always said, you're not going to make it. This is not for you. You're just a good for nothing. You didn't study the right thing. And I said, you know what? Watch me and I'll show you. And I ended up in the Navy. And they said, you got lucky. And I was looking around me and I saw these people with stars and stripes. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be great to become one of them? And I went home and I was so excited. And everybody said, Rene, easy. You got lucky. You got in the Navy. You're not going to make it. You're not smart enough. And to be frankly honest, we all have people around us. Even the people who are watching now or listening, we got people in our environment. They pull us down as much as they can. But it's up to you to react to that. And what happened is I said, you know what, watch me, I'll show you. And I became a sergeant anyway. And then became a first sergeant. I applied for first sergeant major. And what happened is that I was looking around me, I saw these big guys, with the six-pack jumping out of airplanes. I said, wow, this is my thing, right? And everybody, oh, don't do that. It's too dangerous. You're not going to make it. You're going to die. And I said, you know what? Watch me. I'll show you. And a year later, I jumped out of an airplane for the very first time. I said, wow. And people say, you are so lucky. I said, yeah, I know. I didn't even answer these statements anymore. And then I was watching a pilot, I was sitting on my hiney in an aircraft, in the C-130 Hercules. For those who know a bit about the Army and aircrafts, a C-130 has no doors, so you could see the pilot. And I was sitting there and I was watching that pilot and said, hey, wouldn't it be great to become a pilot? And I was fantasizing and dreaming about it. I went home, I said, you know what, I'm going to become a pilot. And eventually that happened. I applied and everybody said, whoa, easy. It's not for you. You're not going to make it. You're not smart enough. Pilots have to study. And to be honest, me and studying, that was not really a good match. But I did it anyway. I said, you know what, watch me, I'll show you. And a year later, I was flying my own Marquetti in Belgian Armed Forces. And I said, wow, look at this, amazing. And the rest is history. In 1995, I bought my very first book from Tony Robbins. And I said to my friends, you know what? I'm going to end up at that guy. I want to meet him. I'm going to collaborate with him. And I did not know that I was, in fact, unconscious, fantasizing like, hey, people say, it's not going to happen. You're not going to make it. Come on, Rene. This is a millionaire. Who are you that he will make time for you? I said, that's true. But you know what? Watch me and I'll show you. And years later, I went to my first UPW and I was really like, what the heck is wrong with these people? They were dancing and jumping and singing. And I said, but you know what? An hour later, I was doing the same thing. And I got approached by another person in Belgium that says, hey, Rene, this and this. And he had an opportunity. And it's a very long story. We're going to keep it short. Due to that opportunity, I ended up being his personal security for Tony for 2 years. And afterwards, I said, wouldn't it be great to work with him? I mean, and I started chasing success resources in Singapore and started chasing them so badly. They just said, oh, our Belgian friend is there again. And I said, yeah, it's me. How are you doing? And I drove 8 hours sometimes for a 5 minutes meeting. 8 hours back home, 16 hours in a car for 5 minutes. Talking about chasing your dreams, right? When people say, how did you do it? You just do it. That's it. You pay the price. That's what I mean, and it's nothing to do with money. You just pay the price to get somewhere. And then finally, I can say, Rene, the last 5 years were the most beautiful ones.
Why is that?
The 20 years up front were preparing me paying the price, do what's necessary, keep going no matter what. We have a book out like a couple of days, Unstoppable Courage. It's never quit. You never quit. You just keep going, and one day, bang. But a lot of people, and we know that, you know that, I know that, a lot of people, they're almost there and they quit, and that's so sad.
Yeah.
However, it is a dream. These are goals and dreams, and if you chase them, you'll get there, but you have to be patient. Like Wayne Dyer used to say, when the student is ready, the professor will appear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've got that in common. Like, people have just sort of tried to deter us away from something just to protect us, and we've just gone, now we'll show you instead, actually. And it's worked. That persistence does 100% pay off as well. I mean, what was it like when you actually met the big man himself, actually?
Oh, that was oh my God. that was an amazing moment. That moment was a bit of a surprise, though. So we met each other very briefly when he was walking backstage. I was doing the security. We met each other a lot of the time, but not speaking to each other. But then finally one day he was outside, and he shouted like, "Security!" And you know his voice, right? It's really, and we ran back to the back of so we have the stage, the backstage, and then where the materials are and the logistics are. And he was there waiting for us. And he says, "Guys, I'm so happy to have you all together now in one spot at this very time." That's the reason he called security. It was a bit of a, but anyway. And he says, "You know what? Thank you so much for serving me again. And thank you so much for this and for that." And he says, "There's a new guy on the block. Where are you?" And I went like, "Oh no," right? I said, "Yes, me, Mr. Robbins." He says, "First of all, it's Tony." And I said, "Okay, hey, Tony, yeah." He says, "Where are you from?" "Belgium." And we had a chat. We ended up having a high five and hey, thank you so much. And that was it. I do have to say that was an amazing moment. Super to have that chat with one of your mentors, personal, after following him for 2 years. I mean, a meter behind his back. Wherever he went, we went. And was there. And he's a very humble man. People ask me a lot of the time, "Hey, how is he in private? How is he backstage?" He is who he is. He walks the talk, right? He's an amazing, humble person. Yeah.
What exactly do you do with Tony? Like, what's the work that you do with him?
So what we do is that, and I'm not the only one, there's more of us. We do previews for Tony Robbins seminars. So one of the seminars is called Unleash the Power Within. We call it UPW, Unleash the Power Within. And that's a 4-day seminar. And what we do as a speaker, we will go and give a preview in a room. Today it's virtual. And we will let people know how it works. What are people going to get those 4 days? In virtual 45 minutes. We try to put everything into 45 minutes. Hey, this is going to happen in a 4 day with Tony, 4 days with Tony. And that's it. I mean, we're with multiple speakers who do that. I mean, not that many. I think we're 5 or 6 who do these previews. And that's how I collaborate. Yeah.
Amazing. Sherry's commented saying that you two actually met at one of Tony Robbins' event, which is amazing. And she was so inspiring. Got loads of comments sharing the love with you today, Rene, just saying, don't give up and everything as well, which I totally agree with as well. So let's talk a bit about the importance of body language in communication, because I feel like this is an area that's not really taught in anywhere, really, which is probably why you're doing so well in it.
Yeah. Body language in communication is super important. As I mentioned already, it's 93% of all communication is body language. It's non-verbal, it's intonation and body language. 55% is body language. Now, when you do know nothing about body language and you're speaking to somebody, what might happen is that you have that belly feeling. That you go like, something is not, this is not good, this is not right. We all have that, right? Sometimes you speak to somebody and say, wow, what an amazing person. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so glad I met that person. And otherwise you say, oh, no, I don't know. Yeah, there's no much. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel good. That's already a first sign in communication to say, hey, this is a red flag. If it doesn't work well, it's a red flag. If you have too many red flags, you might question the conversation or the relationship with that person. And you didn't know nothing about body language yet. Now, once you start understanding how body language works, and you ask a question, an emotional question, for example, now you do have to know we all look somewhere left and right when we answer a question.
Yeah.
If I would ask you, hey, how was your trip to Egypt last year? And you were like, oh yeah, that went pretty well. It was amazing. Yeah, let me think about it. And I look to the left now. And if you remember it well, your right brain is your emotional brain, connected with your left eye. It's an emotion. It's something, it's a memory, something that you remember. So you look up that way. If I would say to you or ask you the question, hey, how was your trip to Egypt last year? And you go like, oh, you are making a construction. Because your right eye is connected with your left brain, which is rational. So left brain, rational, right eye, rational, looking up right, answering an emotional question. Something you should remember.
Wow.
For me, that is the first red flag in that conversation. It doesn't mean it is a lie, because that person might be so busy that day that they have to think about it and make a construction of it. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
So there's not always a lie. Now, when that happens, that first red flag, I'll have a second question, and a third question, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth question. If I have out of 6 or 7 questions, 6, 7 red flags, I might be dealing with a liar. So it's so important. Yeah, it's so important in conversations to ask questions.
Yeah.
The more questions you ask, the more information you get. The more you can listen to the information, you can work with the information, and you can even create your next question upon the information you got from that person. You can read the body language in the meantime. You can define a lie versus a truth in the meantime. You can even redirect the conversation from an emotional conversation to a rational conversation by just turning your body. If I look like, I'm going to exaggerate right now. So I'm going to look left, and talk like this, left side, emotional. And I want to change the conversation into a rational conversation. I will immediately turn this way, show my right side, and communicate in a rational way. You'll see that the person who does know nothing about body language will adapt.
Yeah. And is this like a universal human nature thing that's just automatically wired into us?
Yes, it is. What we can do to make it even go faster is called mirroring. And if you are standing like this with your arms folded, right, I'm going to go a bit backwards like this. I will stand the same way. I will copy paste you.
Yeah.
And then you will change like this. I will copy paste you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you will change like this. I will copy paste you. I will copy paste you 3, 4 times, 5 times. By the 6th time, I will not wait for you. I will change my posture. And 80% chance, there's an 80% chance you will copy paste me.
I've actually done that before with people. I used to do. Okay. It's fascinating how it actually works. I just want to read through some of the comments quickly, because you got a lot of love here. We're amazing. So Karen, thank you so much for sharing the stream. I really appreciate that. And guys, if you're watching this and you've not already shared it, do share it out, because people on your newsfeed will definitely find value in this. And it's all about paying it forward. And Karen's commented saying, yep, Rene, don't ever quit. I totally agree with you on that one. And Gamden's just come in from LinkedIn. Hey, Gamden, this is a very interesting topic to listen to. I totally agree with you as well. And Gamden works in the digital marketing space, and marketing is so much about body language as well, isn't it? 100%.
Yeah, we got, for example, there was a fashion show in London last year, not last year, the year before. Last year was a pandemic. It was the year before. And models who walk on the catwalk, if you have that opportunity, I had that opportunity to coach them. It's amazing how things change, the way they walk, the way they present themselves, by just changing little small things.
Yeah.
And the audience makes a complete shift in their thinking.
Can we recap on that? Because I love how you say that so casually, like, oh yeah, I just worked with the cast of Marvel. Like, how amazing is that? What did you do with them?
With models.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's rehearsals, and during the rehearsals, I just watch them, and I take notes, right? There's another rehearsal, I watch and take notes. And then we have a meeting, right? And during that meeting, I would say, listen, what you guys are doing is amazing. I love it. The way you walk, the way you present yourself, hey, but if you would change this slightly like that, you'll have a different impact in the audience, for the audience.
Yeah.
If you look at your face like this, or a model looks like this, different impact. I mean, I don't have to explain to you, Rene, you're in photography as well. I mean, there is a huge difference in the way people stand and present themselves. And by showing them these little small changes, because it's all about the audience. The audience will buy or not buy, depending on how you present it. Especially with models.
I think that's where posture comes in as well, 100%. So we've talked a little bit about like the eye movement that's involved, the head movement as well, the thought process sometimes as well. But let's talk about things that we do like with our facial expressions and our hands as well, because a lot of people communicate, like what I'm doing right now, we communicate with our hands, don't we?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hidden messages that people may not be aware of, right?
Yeah, I can give you one example. For example, if we point out something and we want to accentuate something, and you do it like this, one finger, right?
Yeah.
Like this. Listen, I have something very important to tell you, and I'm not going to say it twice. This is very dominant and arrogant. Now, if you are on a stage, I remember Joseph McClendon, who speaks with Tony Robbins as well on his stage. If you have 15,000 people in a room and you're the only one on stage, he will do that on a regular basis because he want to make his point, right? And he will do it in a very strict way. And people say, "Oh yeah, that's true." But if you do that on a one-on-one, during a one-on-one, you might mess up the conversation by doing that because it's very arrogant, very dominant. You're pushing people away from you. Now, the second way to maybe do it is like, hey, let me tell you this. I've got a very, very important point. I want to point out something that's super important in this next. And when you do that, like this, you are saying to somebody, they're a zero.
Yeah.
You're a nil. Especially in the northern part of Africa, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. If you do that, you better run very fast. It's very offensive. So the one way to do it, and the only way to do it, if it's up to me, what I teach politicians and what I teach lawyers in courtrooms and judges, is to have the index finger and the thumb, and you put them together and as flat as possible, and make your point like this. So there's three ways.
That's the Donald Trump signature move right there, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a different story. I can talk about that chapter for hours. I mean, Trump is a different chapter. He uses that a lot. Yeah. But this is something that, I mean, open hands, closed hands. Can you imagine we are talking here and I will say, hey, Rohini, I have something very important to tell you. Listen very carefully to me. It doesn't work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Open hands. This is very dominant. Berlusconi in Italy used to do that a lot. Right? Open hands is inviting. I invite you. I'm vulnerable. I'm open. I'm honest. Open hands.
I totally agree.
And then the micro expressions are very important as well. Micro expressions are happening in the face, the facial expressions, and they only last a split second. But then you have to really pay attention to it. But when you pay attention to the micro expressions and the hands and the head and the body and the words, it takes some practice. The more you practice, the better you become, which is with everything. If you learn to play the piano, drive a car, the more you practice, the better you become. It's the same with body language. People say, oh my God, this is difficult. No, it's not difficult. You have to practice, right? Practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think almost it sounds like you have to commit to a lot of this to your memory, because you're already doing it subconsciously anyway. You just have to make sure that you're consciously doing it when you're communicating with people now, isn't it?
It's many years ago, I would prepare my questions, and I would watch the body language. Today, more than ever, I don't prepare any questions anymore. And whenever I have a question, it's like an automatic system that says like, hey, watch out. Because that the face is going that way, that eye is going that way, and that hand is going that way. So, hey, oh, wow, positive or negative. Or I had a lady in Brussels, for example. I had a coaching session with her and said, hey, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah, ask me a question. You can ask me anything. I said, okay, no worries. So I asked her a question, right? And she looked down while asking my questions, and this way down. That means when people looking this way down, they're busy with internal dialogue. So she was probably thinking, hey, my husband is going to be late tonight. I have to pick up the kids from school. The dishwasher broke down. I have to prepare food. And then they have to go to this and that or that or that or that. So that is, I mean, female have that more than male. They're thinking about 1,000 things at the same time. It's like the internet superhighway. Everything is connected with everything, right? And then I ask a question during coaching session. And she's answering my question very slowly. Yes, Rene, that and that and that. And I smashed my hand like flat on the table, like bang. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm waking you up. Can I have your attention, please? 100%. She says, why are you saying this? I said, what were you thinking about while answering my question? And she says, how do you know? I said, who is the coach in here? But afterwards, I explained it to her. I explained literally in detail what I was observing. And she says, wow, that is amazing. But it is amazing when you think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, do get in touch with your questions. Leave a comment in the section, leave a question in the comment section below, and we'll definitely ask them. I know a lot of you guys have been commenting all over Facebook, which is amazing, and sending us some love. Selena, welcome to the stream. Super excited to have you here as well. I think what you teach around body language is absolutely fascinating. But are there any myths that we should be aware of when it comes to body language?
The myth, there are no myths. The body language is 80% science. 20% you have to see things from a different perspective. What I mean about that is if somebody has their arms crossed and they're outside and it's minus 10 degrees, it's just cold. They're not close, right? So 80% is scientifically based. 20% you have to see it in the context. Right? Are there any myths about body language? I mean, a lot of people say, yeah, this doesn't work because this is all, I went into it in depth and it's not working for me. But it takes time, like everything. And body language does really exist and it is really there. But again, it's an 80-20 principle. The law of Pareto, 80-20. 80% is correct, 20% you have to really look into it from a different perspective. There's 3 types of people, though, that are not easy to read body language. And the first category of people is the people who are using a lot of medicine, drugs, alcohol. And why is that? They change the state of their body. So the body is hard to read. The signals are not easy to read. The second type of people are the professional actors. They can act so good that is very hard to read their body language. This is really, if it's congruent with what they say, they can camouflage it. And the third type of people that is really hard to read their body language is pathological liars, like narcissists. Pathological liars, their body adapts so fast to the lie because they believe in their lie so good that the body says, yeah, this is true. Because when I say the body never lies, that's a fact. But when you manipulate it, you can change that state.
Yeah.
And narcissists and pathological liars are experts in this.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to add poker players to that, like really good poker players.
Yeah.
Selena
Exactly.
just saying on Facebook, saying, how does your body language change as a speaker? Good question.
As a speaker, in the beginning, you pay attention to it. At the beginning, you'll pay attention to what is your message. Is it an emotional message or is it a rational message? As I mentioned before, if you have an emotional message, you will pay attention and show your left part of your body. If you have an irrational message, you show your right part of your body, because that's irrational. Because whatever you put out there is an energy.
Yeah.
Everything in life is energy. And when you put it out there, a rational energy, and you show your right part of your body, which is connected with your left brain, that energy will be sent out on a certain frequency and land in the head of that other person. And like I said before, like I mentioned before, if a Chinese person is speaking to a Chinese person, they'll understand each other. And that's the same thing. If I want to connect my left brain with your left brain, I'd rather show my right part of my body and talk to you like this. So there's an 80% chance the message will land on the right part of the brain. So how does your body language change as a speaker? In the beginning, you pay attention. After a while, it becomes it's a second skin, right? It's a second, how you call that? A second, I don't know. Yeah, a second nature, exactly. It becomes a second nature. But really, in the beginning, you pay attention. What I learned as well on a stage, for example, to not run around all the time. Go to the right stage of the right play, the right side of the stage, right, and speak about this. Is actually a good question, Selena. I'm going to tell you something. What we learned in presenting yourself on the stage is that if I go to the left part of the stage, I will talk about emotional things.
Because it's related
to the right side. So to the right side for me, left for you.
Yeah.
If I go to the other side of the stage, which is for you, left, for me, right, for me, left, and for you, right, I will talk about rational things. So I'll say, hey, my life was an amazing life. However, I went through so many, and I will talk all the emotional things. And then I will talk about the rational things. And people say, oh, what an amazing person. And then you go to the middle of the stage and you start your seminar.
Wow. Do you know what? All of that actually makes sense, because I film a lot of speakers as well when we were allowed to film events. And I was always wondering, like, how do they know when to move to one side of the stage to the other? Because I always thought it was to make a point, and they make a point, they move from one stage to the one area of the stage, then they move to another to make another point. But there's actually a science behind all that.
There's a whole science there. If there's people out there that want to know more about this, please contact Rene or me. My website is renedeceuninck.com. Simple. Or contact Rene, and Rene will contact me then. But in fact, this is there's a science behind it anyway. If you want to practice it properly and have your audience with you, it's good to study these techniques, for sure.
So, talking about body language and the power of it as well, I know that because I'm into like personal growth and mindset growth myself as well, and obviously work with a lot of people within the personal development space, filming them. So a lot of them talk about the power of body language to improve your mindset, like power poses, for example. Can we talk a little bit about how we can use our own body language to improve our own mindset?
Absolutely. The first thing to know, though, is to go a little bit back to what we were talking about, is that when I speak to you, my words is in the moment. Speaking is in the moment. Listening is in the moment. It's conscious. Touching something is in the moment. Tasting something, listening to something is in the moment. It's all conscious. So when I say something to you, I will say, hey, Rene, how are you doing? This is conscious. Does that make sense? That means that I will transfer 40 bits of data per second from my brain, my conscious brain, to your conscious brain. Now, body language goes through the subconscious. Whatever is nonverbal goes through the subconscious mind. And subconsciously, you will transfer 40 million bits of data per second. Yeah. Which is a lot more. 1 million times more. That's why it's so important to really study body language in depth and then use it and make sure it becomes a second nature. Because what I say conscious will arrive in your conscious. Whatever I do, I send out subconscious will arrive in your subconscious. You will process that in your brain, and you will come back to me with an answer that really makes sense. That's why they say the outside world is in fact a reflection of yourself. Because you say something, process comes back to you.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one. It's all about how you perceive things, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you want different answers, ask different questions.
Amazing. We've got a few questions coming in the comments on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm going to try and get through them all in time. So Selena has also asked a question.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm gonna put the power on because my computer, I forgot to put the power on. No, go ahead.
Is it important things to be confident to adapt on the spot?
It is important things to be confident to adapt on the spot. Confidence is, first of all, know your content, know what you're talking about, and that will create already a lot of confidence. If you're not confident because of situations in the past, which can happen, you should work on that first. And hypnotherapists are very good in that area. It is important things to be confident. I don't really, is this a question or a statement, or is that?
It's a question. I think what Selena is trying to say is, how can you adapt to be more confident? Am I right in saying that, Selena? Let me know in the comments below.
Yeah, it is. For me, it's what I would answer this is that confidence is everything. I mean, and be able to answer a question is something that happens through all of the years. I mean, in 25 years, still today, I got sometimes questions. I said, "Oh, wow, that's an interesting question." But during all of those years, you might say 80% of all the questions are always coming back. So sometimes you know what's going to come, right? And then you answer the question. But still, it can be challenging sometimes. And then if there's a question, you answer the question with a question. Yeah. Right. And for example, somebody has a question, I would say, "Hey, that's an interesting question. Why would you ask that question?" They were like, "Yeah, I don't know." I said, "Yeah, suppose you would know. What would it be?" But this is NLP combined with body language.
That's a very powerful combination.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. When people really want to become public speakers, go into an NLP course and a body language course. Combine the two, you'll be surprised how you will appear on stage. Because, to be frankly honest, that COVID thing will not be around forever. You better be prepared when things open up again. And for those who are public speakers, please prepare yourself very good, because it's going to open up again. Don't worry about it.
100% agree with you on that one. Gambin's just come on the stream saying, to put this into practice, how does a practical / ongoing training help master the body language?
This is by follow-up, continuously follow-up. I have a lot of students right now, and they signed up for an 8-week course, and it's 2 hours a week. So they get a total of 16 hours. And on top of that, they get free access to the online course. Then the free access to the online course, lifetime. So they can always check on online, because the online course in its whole is all video, no promotion, only video about body language. So they can always check on themselves. And once a month, we have a meeting online on Zoom where everybody is invited. Like, hey, if you have an issue, if you have a question, if you have a good experience, for example, please share it in that meeting. Yeah. So it's completely. I mean, a lot of people say, "Hey, Rene, if I go to that speaker, amazing speaker, I'm pumped up for 3 months, and after 3 months, it goes like, bam, done, finished." I said, that's logic. That's normal. Yeah. You go to the gym for 3 months, and then you do nothing anymore. It's the same thing. You have to keep that muscle up here active. Yeah. In whatever area. Yeah.
Another question from Selena. How do you address your body language to many people? So like if you had a hall full of people or a room full of people, how would you address them? And
As
that's a very huge question, isn't it? And I think you touched on that a bit earlier, didn't you?
very neutral, always neutral, and I will always point my feet towards the person I'm talking to get a higher connection. And what I mean about a higher connection is a higher energy. When one foot is pointing away in a conversation, for example, during an analysis, but I have to excuse me for 1 second because otherwise my battery is dying. I'm so sorry about that. Just give me 1 second.
Forward technique. That's what I call the Victoria Beckham approach. Every time I'm on the cover, she's always got like 1 foot forward, she's sort of looking like that kind of thing.
Yes, we got juice. All right.
Yeah.
Selena, how do you address your body to many people? Straightforward to the person you're speaking to. Always look in their eyes. If you're not confident looking in their eyes, look into their third eye in the middle. When you look into the third eye, people have the impression you're looking into their eyes. And that is a way of doing it. Make sure you face them. Make sure your both feet are pointing towards the person. Because if I'm speaking to somebody and 1 foot is pointing away, that means the person wants to wrap up the conversation and leave in the direction the foot is pointing. It's proven. So always make sure you face neutral and open hands. And most important, listening. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Just real quickly, because I know that a lot of people watching right now, they're speakers in their own right. Do you have any speaking tips to boost their confidence in speaking on stage?
Yes, we got trainings. Again, if you go to the website, if you go to the shop, you will find all the trainings. There's a lot of online trainings. There's a lot of offline trainings, one-on-ones. Now, for the moment, right now, not because we're in lockdown. But once the lockdown is over, I have work like I don't want to think about it. A lot of offline trainings that I have once the lockdown will be over. But yes, there's a lot of trainings. There's a lot of, and also tailor-made. If they say, hey, Rene, I've got an issue with this and this and this. How can we put things together? And then I'll say, hey, what do you want? What is your outcome? What do you want from me? And then we'll have a chat about it. And and then make something tailor-made. Absolutely. I mean, I've got the experience of 25 years behind me with speaking with the biggest. I mean, it was in Thailand. These are the stages with Robert Kiyosaki, with Richard Branson. When you're backstage with these people, you learn so much. I was with Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield, Jairek Robbins, Tony's son. We had an amazing experience, and you learn so much from these people. It's and still today, if I'm waiting to get on stage, we have these rituals. Breathing exercise. Yeah, please.
Do tell me these rituals, because I know that the only one I've really learned about really is that the Wonder Woman pose. You sort of stand like Wonder Woman for a little bit.
Nice. What is one of the rituals, for example, is that you do some breathing exercises.
Yeah.
And you put yourself in a peak state. And why would you put yourself in a peak state? Is because you want to deliver. Right, and then you have a conversation with yourself, with the universe, with God, with whoever you want to call it, and you say, "Hey, give me the power, give me the energy, give me everything necessary to deliver the word. Only use me as a messenger. It's not about me; it's about people in the room. Please give me any information. Let it pass through me, being the messenger, and thank you for that." And you do some more breathing exercises, and then you go outside that room where you did that, and you do some power moves, like hey. And so we turn around, and then all of a sudden you go like you shake your body, and then go on stage, and you and people say, well, "How do you do this?"
Yeah, because you raised your energy.
Yes, even the trampoline jumping. Sorry.
No, carry on. So I can see that we've got some amazing questions coming in the comments on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are running out of time very, very soon. I'm going to try and do my best to get through all of the questions. But do let me know, actually, if you guys would like a part 2 of this interview, because I think we've only really just scratched the surface with this body language. There's so much more to it in terms of the NLP, business strategies, and body language as well. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like a part 2, and we can arrange that with Rene if he's open to having that chat, of course.
Sharing is caring, you know. Yeah.
Yes. Yep, the comments are definitely coming in. People want a part 2.
Okay.
So Selena's also commented saying, and we've kind of come, so Selena, to answer your question, I think you'd get more value from this question if you watch the replay of this whole interview, because throughout this interview, Rene has dropped so many golden nuggets of wisdom about body language. So Selena's question is, sometimes if there is something you are not certain about, your body reacts to it automatically, which is a natural reaction, obviously. But how can you control your body language? Can you give us some tips that you've not already covered in the interview so far?
Honesty is policy.
Mm.
That's the only answer, because your body never lies. And if you would have a question for me, Rohini, and I would not be able to answer your question, I would say, Rohini, I cannot answer your question right now because I don't know the answer. But I will do research and come back to you within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And that is being honest, and because your body will react anyway. If you never lie, you never have to think. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What if
because 20 years later, somebody will ask you a question and you go like, oh, how did I answer that question? You know? Yeah.
There's a slight, say, like a lack of confidence there. So let's say, for example, you're in a business meeting, you're about to enter a negotiation. And maybe it's a bit of a negotiation that you think, I'm nervous, am I going to get the deal? I really want this. But that lack of confidence kicks in. How can we control that?
Breathing exercises.
Ooh, do tell.
What I learned from monks is that when you want to become a monk, the first 2 years in education, becoming a monk, is to learn how to breathe.
Yeah.
Because when you're angry, you breathe a certain way. When you're happy, you breathe a certain way. When you're sad, you breathe a certain way. And when you can control your breathing, you can control a lot of things. And I know people with their head down and shoulders down, and what they're doing is they're cutting off the oxygen.
Yeah.
If you do these exercises, breathing exercises with your head up, your shoulders back, and you go like, you give your brain a lot of oxygen. And it's that oxygen needed to think clear.
Amazing.
Does that make sense? Because if you have your shoulders back, your head up, and you push your belly out when breathing in, even if you have no belly, you'll have a belly if you do that. But what happens is that you're using the full capacity of your lungs. 80% of people on the planet breathe like this. They lift I'm exaggerating, right? But they lift their shoulders, and the only thing they do is they use that part of the lungs instead of the full capacity of the lungs. If you push your diaphragm down, your belly will come out, that's for sure. But you're using the full capacity of your lungs. Will give you a full capacity of oxygen that will go to the brain, and you will think differently. So confidence is one thing, is know your content by heart. Know there will be questions. If you know there's a question, shouldn't you prepare an answer? Mm-hmm. And if you know what the question could be, if people ask me a question, my answer to every question is good question. Because I don't know, I don't want them to think they're dumb. That's a good question, John. I knew you were asking that question, and I prepared an answer.
Mm. This is slightly different, isn't it?
But you have to know your content. You have to know what you're talking about. You can ask me any question about body language. And still, if there would be one question I can't answer, I will tell you, listen, I will come up with an answer within 24 hours because, honestly, I can't answer your question.
Amazing. Rene, where can people connect with you? Because I know you've got some amazing courses, and what you do with all of your clients is absolutely, literally life-changing. And I really do think that, guys, if you're not connected to Rene, do connect with him, because his details are in the description above. Check out his website, check out his courses as well. But Rene, where can people find you?
I was backstage in 2018 with Gary V in London.
Wow.
And he said, on how many channels are you today? Social media platforms. And I said, why? He said, because I'm the white guy, right? In London, they all call me the white guy. I said, why? He says, if you're not on 10 different platforms in this industry, you don't have a reason of existence. I say, Gary, don't worry, I'm on 24 different platforms. So if you don't find me, you got an issue with your Wi-Fi, not with my platforms. But I'm on the basic ones. What I work a lot with is LinkedIn. I work a lot with LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, follow me on all these channels. I mean, I invite you. There's not a lot about my private life. There's a lot about body language on these platforms. So, but LinkedIn is the platform I work most with. Yeah.
Amazing.
So if they type my name, so René Deceuninck, they'll find me anyway. Google my name. And if you want to go to my website, on the bottom of the first page and every page, you got all the links also to social media. And it's renedeceuninck.com. So, yeah, walk in the park.
Fantastic.
If you ask.
Amazing. Guys, do connect with Rene. He's absolutely a genius in his space, literally. We're going to wrap it up here. Do join us next week, 6 p.m. UK time. We are going to be talking all about how you can make change easy. And when I spoke to my guest for next week, I didn't realize how simple change could actually be, because I know that some people, they find it very challenging. I myself do sometimes. So we're going to be talking all about techniques to really help with your mindset and calming it down as well. So make sure you're there, 6 p.m. next Thursday, right here at Livewire TV. Have an amazing rest of the week. Rene, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate your time. And I know that everyone appreciates your golden nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you for having me, Rene. I really appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.